Здравствуйте, уважаемые друзья.
Good afternoon, dear friends. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Vardanyan, and I'm Vice President of Moscow Chamber of Commerce, and I'm honored today to host this forum, Russian-Italian Industrial Cooperation Forum, to discuss the issues of bilateral cooperation, not only from the point of view of industrial chains, but also development of such a pandemic development, if I may say so, and the role of our countries in the solution of this program, which covered the whole world and had a huge impact on our economic contacts and our human relations. I'm happy to see that our Italian friends with whom we cooperate many years take part in this event. I'm pleased to see the colleagues from the Sverdlovsk region, from the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and of course I would like to thank our colleagues from the Trade Representative Office of Russia in Italy, who also decided to take part and present their vision of this process. Distinguished friends, I understand that we have a very strict timing. Please stick to time and please mute your microphone if you don't speak. Please respect the timing which is provided to you. A number of colleagues will join us a little bit later. I can see that they will take part in our discussion timely. If you have questions, please send them to chat where we can monitor them and ask. And if you have questions, the organizers will provide you with an opportunity not only to ask them, but also to listen the answers. Thank you very much for taking part in our today's meeting, and I'm pleased to give the floor to the trade representative of the Russian Federation in Italy, Igor Karavayev. Igor, happy to see you. I hope that everything is well. And I ask you to present on the subject of the general estimation of Russian and Italian cooperation and the prospects. Good afternoon. Everything is fine as other participants of our today's event, and all the inhabitants of the Eurasian continent and the world under the pandemic conditions which we have been experiencing for about 1 year, which accelerated a number of processes. I will not expand on them. I will do my best to meet the time schedule. It's a pleasure that this event is a reality, that it takes part on such a level. And of course, it's a great honor for me to take part in the event, especially taking into account the special role played by Italy in the European, Russian-Italian relations, in particular from the point of view of foreign economic and trade relations and investment cooperation, etc. I will draw your attention to some statistics which proves this special place of Italy in the trade turnover of Russia with foreign states. Italy traditionally ranks 5 to 7. In 2019, it ranked 7th in the general trade turnover of Russia, ranked 7th as importer, and ranked 5th as exporter, among other foreign states. And the issues which we are discussing today, they are always on the agenda of the Economic Council of Russia and Italy. And here we have a phenomena results, very good result despite this interim epidemiological situation. October 14th this year, we managed to have the offline meeting of the Economic Council. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Italian Republic visited Moscow, met with the Minister Manturov, took part in many events, visited Skolkovo Innovation Center where he got acquainted with the areas of our innovation development. Of course, I have to know that at the council meeting on the 14th of October, an important decision was made on activization, on the activity on the Entrepreneurs Council between Russia and Italy. The chairmanship status was discussed for both parties, Russia and Italy, which makes the dialogue even more intensive. Dialogue between business communities, between the sessions of the Economic Council meeting. Going back to our global story, Italy is among the 30 leading economies of the world. According to the World Bank, was hit mostly by the pandemic, economic-wise, of course, despite the fact that the World Bank makes some amendments to the statistics for the third quarter. Nevertheless, now the GDP of Italy decrease will be higher than 10%, which is huge, which impacts total economic activity on both territory of Italy and Italian businessmen abroad. We pay much attention to the measures taken by the Italian government to minimize the consequences of the pandemic, minimization of the lockdown consequences, the first wave and the second wave. Nobody can predict how many waves we are going to have. Fortunately, we cannot get used to it. Everybody believes that it's an emergency situation. We respond quickly. And of course, I would like to thank Italian government and Italian business community for high adaptive opportunity and capacity for changing economic conditions. I have to know the document which was adopted by the Italian government, and it was business oriented associations and economic organization. It's a pact on export support, which is a very important document. It has been not only practically implemented, but also had certain results, despite the changed economic situation, thanks to such activities of Italian government as export support. The global Italian export is growing instead of, as expected, being decreased, especially in traditional areas. The general amount of the resources allocated by Italian governments to support their companies is 1.4 billion euro. Such an experience is very helpful, very useful from the point of view of information content for the Russian Federation, because undoubtedly we also support our exporters. Russian Export Center plays a significant role in supporting the exporters, especially under the given condition. The Ministry of Industry and Trade traditionally activates all the areas. Us being a trade representative office work online, which allows to support dialogue between business communities. We focused on regional subjects, and during the last 4 months, when offline contacts were impossible, we conducted about 27 webinars with different regions of the Russian Federation. And now we continue this strategy, these tactics, organizing such an event together with the Sverdlovsk region, taking into account the fact that for Italian business community, this is one of the most interesting regions of the Russian Federation for bilateral cooperation for both exports and imports. And of course, Sverdlovsk region is highly interested for Italian investors. First of all, technological companies which are interested in expanding geography on their supply chains, especially for the components for their machine building products. And I would like to expand on statistics of trade turnover, and unfortunately, the figures are not so optimistic as my previous speech was. Unfortunately, now we must state that our trade turnover decreased by more than 22%. Unfortunately, the locomotive of this decrease is a decrease of Russian exports to Italy and to other countries of the European Union, and the decrease of Italian exports is decrease is less, and this is a very beneficial for the general situation with the trade turnover. I must say that this situation is not exceptional merit of Italian business. I would say that it's a merit of the Russian Federation because, first of all, the state, the government, which supports the consumers' demand, which traditionally is one third or one fourth of the total export of Italy to the Russian Federation, and of course the modernization programs of economy, which also are part of federal investment program and national projects which are implemented in the Russian Federation. They traditionally support about 30 or 40% of Italian export, which includes machine building goods and technological equipment. Nevertheless, I have to state that 22% decrease is of course a very sad information, which do not make us very optimistic, but nevertheless we realize the genesis, the origin of this situation, and we understand how to overcome it. And I would be optimistic. Just yesterday I came back from the offline, the real trip to Veneto region. I visited the machine building company Chikaltai, which is a very well represented on the Russian market. The Sverdlovsk region is one of the largest consumer market for the goods, for the products of this enterprise, which produces the high-tech steam boilers. And we discussed the possible localization of the manufacturing based on Italian technology steam equipment in the Russian Federation, providing the capacities and facilities which demonstrates the willingness of Italian business community to have the dialogue even under such complicated conditions. Also, I would like to know that recently on the 22nd, 23rd of October, Verona hosted annual Eurasian Economic Forum, which became special because it was not only offline and online, including presentation by Minister Manturov, Minister of Economic Development of the Italian Republic, other speakers from both Italian and Russian side. They discussed the changing of prospects for our global Eurasian market and the opportunities provided by the Italian window for developing of business cooperation. Thank you very much for your attention, and I am willing to answer your question. Thank you. Thank you very much for the areas which you emphasized.
Uh, uh, the accents that you made at the start of our meeting today, you mentioned that technological cooperation becomes the first priority, and indeed we need to do preliminary negotiations today. We need to discuss possible solutions to activate this cooperation within this difficult situation at this international market and on the planet. And I'm happy to give the floor to the first vice governor of the Sverdlovsk region, Alexei Orlov. The most so because they have worked actively with Italy for a long time, and they are of great interest for our Italian partners. The floor is yours, and good afternoon, dear colleagues and dear participants. And on my own behalf and on behalf of Governor Kuivashev, I'm happy to welcome all of you here. And I'm very happy to realize that the limitations and that the measures that have to do with the the COVID-19 do not reduce the interest towards Italy and towards the cooperation with this country. I can feel that interest very clearly. Italy is one of the key partners for this region. We have a correspondence center for the between Russia and Italy. We have an honorary consulate, and the Office of Intesa Bank that helps build dialogue with the Italian business. Italian companies have found partners in this region and are operating successfully. The NL Russia company is implementing upgrading projects for the Srednyouralsk hidden power station, and they have started working on the treatment of wastewater, and they are actively participating in projects, in the greening projects, in the environmental projects. For 20 years, we have had Pestrel company in this region. The company is expanding its range of products. They understand the sales markets, and they have great plans for their operations. The town of Aramil is where Mapei makes their product. Daniela company is involved in upgrading the facilities of our industry. This includes Yevraz and TMK and Kamensk-Uralsky metallurgical factory. And we are happy to place science-intensive and tech-intensive facilities in this region. We are ready to support that broadly, and we confirm our commitment to participate, to help Russian and Italian companies establish contacts. As you said at the very beginning, we are getting great help on that from the Ural Chamber of Commerce and Industry. You can learn more on the portal of International Economic Cooperation of the Sverdlovsk region made in Ural. The resource that I've mentioned has been translated into 5 languages, and you can find extensive information on the opportunities in Sverdlovsk region there. And now that the borders are closed, we are trying to find new modalities for cooperation, and they prove to be quite successful, just like the forum we're having today. What I'd like to say is that under these conditions, the interest towards this portal in terms of looking for partners and in remote format is very popular. In the summer 2021, we really hope that Ekaterinburg will host the INAPROM in the physical format and the personal presence format. And we're happy that Italy has been announced the partner country for this forum. For our companies, this is a great opportunity to present, to showcase their products and services, and to learn about the potential of companies both within this region and across the Russian Federation. I'm confident that this company will help accelerate and enhance our cooperation, even though it is very successful even now. And I would like to use this opportunity to invite you to the INAPROM International Industry Fair that will be happening in July 2021. We will be happy to see all of you, and we are confident that this will be a wonderful event, a very useful one. Thank you very much, Mr. Love. I know that unfortunately we'll have to switch to another event, and if you have any questions, please ask them. The question from me is, considering the close cooperation between the Sverdlovsk region and Italian company in Italy, do you think about possible setting up of a dedicated program on acceleration of mutual trade and the presence of Italian tech companies in your region? We certainly are moving in this direction, and considering that we all hope that the main industrial exhibition will be organized in the physical format. It would be very useful to present such a program together with our Italian partners. I would like to say that the Euro Chamber of Commerce and Industry and we as the Moscow Chamber are committed to supporting this project and process, and we are ready to be part of this work and to create a bridge of cooperation between Russian and Italian companies. I think if we have any questions, you can write them in the chat and we can then forward these questions to Mr. Orlov and he will answer them. Thank you very much, Mr. Orlov, for your presentation and for the support from the regional administration. Dear colleagues, I would like to give the floor to, I think, a long-term friend of all the system of chambers of commerce and industry, president of the Association of Italian Industrialists of Industria Russia, Mr. Ernesto Ferlenghi. Mr. Ferlenghi, the floor is yours, and thank you for being able to connect to us on time. I'm very happy to welcome you. Hello, I'd like to give a short presentation. I hope we'll have this PowerPoint and it will help us. I hope you can see the screen. Yes, we can see everything perfectly well, and then we start. I will explain who we are. I'll just briefly speak about why we need to have this tool. Confindustry Russia includes many companies as part of a structure. It's important because when we speak about the localization and it's very important to have this high potential for cooperation, both at the regional and territorial level. This is where we are present. We have more than 70 agreements, 60 of them have already been signed. We work in different regions and we have great potential for cooperation. We do not limit ourselves to Russian territories, and we realize that the new logic is the logic of the Eurasian market. I'd like to disappoint those who want to hear that everything is going well. That's not true. Things are not going well. Things are very complicated, even leaving alone what has happened during the past year. If we look at a broader picture, we have about 400 companies that are present in the Russian market. They have never left the market, and this is a very important step. But unfortunately, 400 Italian companies are comparable to 5,000 German companies present in the market, and this element that is a bad sign, and bad performance is the level. You see that less than 1% of direct foreign investments come from Russia. This is bad. This means that we have not been efficient enough in terms of localization. The number of companies that have localized their production here is still very limited, and this is unfortunately that's not positive for our partnerships. We need to learn this lesson. We need to analyze what has happened. It's just fair when Russia asks us to localize production. This is a tool and this is a project of technology transfer. We need to build this system together as Italy and Russia. And then the competition between all investors is becoming legitimate. But those who want to increase their market share. I say that, yes, we are affected adversely, but if we look at the goods turnover, this is less than 50%. But we have this oil and gas industry, which has a strong influence on the Russian exports to Italy. We historically have been one of the top buyers of Russian oil and gas, and thanks to the agreements that were signed 50 years ago, back at the Soviet Union time, that the economy of Italy has grown dramatically, and we're very thankful for this joint work. But on the other hand, if we look at the Italian exports, if these are the figures that I have compared, if we can decrease it by 25, further decrease it by 25%, then again, we'll look at the European Union and then the United States that have invented this sanction system. During that time, the export fell dramatically, and we see export and investments decrease, and this is bad for both Russian and Italian systems. And this is especially bad because the export is based on our medium and small companies. This is more than 90% of our exports, unlike Russia, which has about 22% attributable to that. Localization seems to be a very good element. It provides opportunities through taxation incentives and investment contracts, and guarantees against risk. And there are also financial tools. In July last year, there was a new agreement that was signed between the Assembly and the CVP. We have quite a large amount of money available for implementation of joint projects. The interesting thing is that 18 months later, almost zero of that amount has been used. This means that we have opportunities, but there are no projects. Then we need to divide our joint work better. We need to create the so-called single window. We need to understand the strategy in the region and in the federal level and the coordination between different ministries. And we need to support companies that focus on your strategic approach. If you say, let's develop pharmaceuticals, agri-food and construction, we need to focus on the strategies that you have in your mind. We need to understand your national priorities in terms of industry, and this is what you can focus on. The world will be owned by those who invest in knowledge and R&D. It's very important. You can see that the United States and China invest great amounts in terms of percentage of the GDP and in absolute terms. This leads to a great number of patents, and Russia and Italy have about the same level of investments into the future. Knowledge and patents and new startups. This is what they build on. As for China, they grow fast, both at the international level and in terms of strategic approach. We want to be we want our Russia-Italy cooperation to lead to our mutual growth. There's of course an advantage where the exchange rate difference falls. We can look at the localization with more optimistically. This is a huge market, and I mentioned localization. I personally believe, and our colleagues and friends in Italy believe, that joint ventures are perfect tools for building relationships between Italy and Russia, and in general between the international community and Russia. And there should be healthy competition between regions. Everybody offers taxation incentives, but we need the general vision of a broader field than just the regional level. We need to understand where we need to invest resources and finance. Russia is rich in talented human resources. Innovations are spoken about a lot, and as you see on this graph, they're not we're not on track here. The R&D is the most important thing today. Talented young people should stay in Russia and should look into the future here in Russia. This is very important to maintain, to support human capital. Next year, Italy will chair the G20, and we have already started our joint work with Shochin and along the lines of co-chairing in the business 20 and the great 20. We want to prepare proposals, and we will be happy to hear your feedback and your opinion. These there are different fora that exist. They can be more or less efficient, but we have to have shared opinion on investment programs and on strategic priorities. I believe in B2B less than on creating a network where we will bring groups of companies that get together and create synergies with Russian companies, and we will bring financial instruments, especially considering the current geopolitical situation which will probably not give us great positive results. I will be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Ernesto, thank you very much for your presentation, for such details. I would like to support you because you are absolutely right. I do not absolutely get for whom it's profitable to impose sanctions, who wins in this situation, because it's a loss for everybody, for both Europe and Russia, and we are talking about that all the time, but it's not our initiative. I totally agree with you that you assessed the necessity for active participation of Italian companies in localization and their manufacturing on the territory of the Russian Federation. Many companies, including your colleagues from European Union, you yourself cited these numbers, they actively not just present as exporters of their products, but they also create these joint ventures. They localize the ventures and they make part of the technological chains and the programs implemented by the Russian Federation. The key focus which you emphasized, we need to take into account the interests and the agenda of Russia, not just say that, okay, come on, let us localize it now. We need to learn about this program. We need to cooperate together with our business associations, with our public institutions of industry development. We must say that Russia needs that, and we are willing to come with this. Technological cooperation between Russia and Italy is always very active, and I believe that here Italian business has a huge possibilities. You had chemical, pharmaceutical industry, machine building. All these are something that is not only key trend. These are the priorities of the Russian Federation today, which has huge advantages for developing on the territory of the Russian Federation. I am confident that all the colleagues are willing to support Italian companies in this sphere, to support them not only from the point of view of consultancy and advisory, but in seeking the partners in localization of their manufacturing sites in Russia. We actively cooperate with our colleagues from Italian Russian Chamber of Commerce. I'm pleased to have Marisa Florio here at our today's meeting. She's the director of Moscow office of Italian Russian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Marisa, thank you very much. Thank you very much for participation in this event, organized and dedicated to the industrial cooperation between Russia and Italy. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for an invitation. A lot of things have already been said. The statistics have been cited, and investment were mentioned by Ernesto Ferlenghi and Igor Karavayev. I would like to expand on that a little bit and to clarify something and to tell something new. I would also like to tell what we have been doing, being the Italian-Russian Chamber of Trade. commerce this year under such crisis circumstances, and what is our recommendation to the business circles about statistics? As it was already mentioned, of course, everybody knows that 2013 was the best, the golden year for Russian and Italian sides. After the Crimea, Ukraine sanctions, the situation went down, but in 2018 we had certain improvements, and especially in 2019. For example, if the export from Italy to Russia in 2013 was 10.5 billion euro, last year export amounted to 9 billion euro. That is why, despite the sanctions, it was possible to get close to the best practices, but we are the fifth importer to the Russian Federation, 10th country for Russian export to Italy. And of course, I would like to clarify some data on these sectors. Maybe this was not mentioned. We have the very important industry, which is machine building, despite the fact that this year the statistics for January is minus 11%. Our exports amount is about 41%. After that, I will not tell about other industries like chemicals, pharmaceutical, fashion, system, furniture, components, agricultural, transportation, food and beverage, other industries. Of course, there is a significant decrease. We all know that this year, altogether, sanctions and pandemic led to the situation which we have. Maybe the second wave of pandemic is even worse than the first one, and it led to devaluation of ruble, the oil price. Ruble devaluation is, of course, the logic situation. It means that there are less opportunities to purchase consumer goods and especially equipment. That is why the situation, of course, is very complicated. I would like to say that within the frameworks of Italian-Russian Chamber of Commerce, we suffered a lot because of COVID. We were hit, we lost our former president, Rosso Alessandrello, who headed our chamber for 25 years. He died of COVID, and in a month our advisor, Andrei Varichev from Metallinvest, also passed away. Yesterday, Andrea Merloni also passed away, who together with his father established the company in Lipetsk. That is why we have huge losses from all the points of view. How our work is organized this year. This year, of course, we have the majority of our events to online, especially since May and June. We reorganized. Of course, it's not the same, but nevertheless, it had certain results. I believe that probably one of the largest problem is exhibition. Exhibitions are huge losses for exhibition and Russian exhibition centers in both Russia and Italy, and then exhibitions and trade fairs. They are, of course, very useful for contacts with all the regions. Of course, it's uncomparable with the B2B missions and delegations visits. And of course, here in September, our international exhibitions were scheduled in Moscow, and now they again are postponed till January 15th. In Italy, many exhibition centers are hit. Some of them unite, some of them are just closed. Huge losses, as I could said. We, of course, as Mr. Karavayev said, organized many webinars. I believe that more than 40 actually. We mainly organized them for the members of the Chamber of Commerce, industrial webinars, solutions for such a period, presentations of an industry. After that, we, for our work, which is maybe a little bit different from Confindustria work, for certain industry, we believe in B2B, and we managed during the pandemic to organize something. Of course, there are no other way. There are no exhibitions, there are no exchange of experts and representatives of the enterprises. That is why, especially after the summer periods, we organize for a company or a group of companies together with the Chamber of Commerce of Italy. We organize the online business meetings, which has certain results. Anyway, we have to move forward because it's impossible just to stand still and wait. That is why there is certain feedback. Fairs, trade fairs, online fairs. Last week, a very large exhibition was scheduled in Rome, annual exhibition, Ecomondo, the Eco World, huge international exhibition where buyers from all the countries come, and the delegation from Russia, about 30 experts, is curated by us from all the regions, and experts are coming from all the regions of Russia, Sverdlovsk region, even Kazakhstan and Belarus. We prepared the everything necessary for the delegation. Delegation was willing to come, 30 people. Our Prime Minister signed a decree which made it possible to invite participants and delegates for the international exhibition. We provided visas for all of them. Everything was prepared. And the decree, the previous decree almost delayed or postponed all the exhibitions in Italy. Just 1 week before the exhibition had to start, we had all the B2B meetings online, everything that was scheduled within the agenda, within the program. Of course, it's not the same, but nevertheless, our buyers from different regions of the Russian Federation agreed. They met, they had a conversation, and an exhibition, online exhibition, was held. During the last 2 years, but especially this year, I'm happy to tell Mr. Vardanyan about that. We had been working on the project by the Italian Chamber of Commerce and Assocamerestere associations under the chamber, which unite the chambers abroad. Mentoring is the name of this event. Italian companies take part in that. We choose the mentors from this industry who can have conversation with these companies. It's very important to our point of view. The last one was held yesterday, 1.5 hours, machine building. We organized that in order to learn a little bit about this country, about expert certification, difficulties, what are the approaches, and this scouting and mentoring, which is possible online, has very good results. And now I will proceed with the experts from Russia to Italy. You know that we are Italian and Russian Chamber of Commerce. We have members from Russia. It's a pleasure for us to work with Russian entrepreneurs in the sphere of export or possible investment to Italy, because we helped our member, Russian Climate, to purchase and to open its plants in Veneto region. Of course, it's a rare case. Export from Russia to Italy is very young. I believe that very often it's not prepared. That is why this work, the market search or this mentoring is very important for Italian companies on the regional levels, on private levels, for every company, because there are many unknown aspects. How it works in Italy, what are the taxation in Italy, what are the possible difficulties. Italy is not just Italy, it's the European Union. That is why I believe that we have to work a lot to invest our efforts in this sphere, to develop exports to Russia. About exhibitions. Exhibitions is a very good tool. Exhibitions, I mean, as a collective, as a joint event. Yes, there are different companies. There is Russian Export Center, but to be honest with you, they work more for Germany, not for Italy. There is a demand for this exhibition, Ecomondo, Eco World, to have the Russian pavilion there, to have the joint exhibition of Russian companies. Of course, it gives certain results because it can be mentoring, can be B2B, it can be individual contact with different companies. These exhibitions and trade fairs are global presentation which can be very helpful. That is why my recommendation is to develop participation in joint exhibitions abroad. Recently, we organized a presentation, webinar, the advantages of B2B online for the Udmurtia region. It was very interesting, very fruitful. It's too early to say about the results, but of course we are open for such events. I am willing to answer the questions, but I would also like to add regarding visas and exchange of experts. During the COVID this year, this situation is much worse for Italians than for Russians who come to Italy. As you know, there are much more categories of Russian citizens have an opportunity to come to Italy and stay there up to 120 hours, 5 working days. An invitation from an Italian partner is enough. It's possible to go to Italy, stay there for 5 days, only having the COVID negative test, and not everyone is requiring that. If it's an exhibition, it's possible, and without staying in isolation, in quarantine. There are many members for whom we provide visas since July. Russian Federation Chamber of Commerce and Industry does not provide invitations since March, and Russian consulate in Italy provides visas only for super special categories. We all know which. But this narrow category for business, for 5-day stay, is missing. We had big problems to return high-skilled employees who are directors general in Russia, who live in Russia and work in Russia, who have very high positions. For some months, they had no opportunity to return together with their family. It was possible only after having special permission by the FSB of Russia, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and somebody else. It's a very severe conditions, very tough conditions. Now, Italians cannot come to Russia, but Russians, we have many members, Russian companies who visit exhibitions which took place in September in Milano. They came and stayed for a number of dates, and vice versa is impossible. The visa procedure, we provide visas in July. Of course, we have the amended the visa provisions. Visa centers are opened. The consulate provides visas. There are many Italians with for whom the visas have already expired. They are willing to come as soon as possible, but it's impossible. I believe that these issues should be raised because it's not fair, and somehow we need to start focusing on that. We need to start traveling. We need to start exchange. Of course, I could talk more about different industries, different issues. If you have questions, I will be happy to answer.
Thank you very much for this very emotional and very informative presentation. We know about these problems, and both the Russian and the Moscow chamber are trying to find these solutions. And we, at some points, we are able to arrange visits from highly skilled personnel for work and for business and for negotiations. You are certainly right. The exhibition activity has been dramatically affected, and it led to disruptions in the chains that we have that have worked before, and disrupted the process that have worked very well. Today we face new measures, new limitations. Unfortunately, the second wave is even stronger and more aggressive than the first one. We expect that there may be a third wave. So far, we cannot make any predictions, any forecasts. No one can say anything. The way you have chosen, the method you have chosen by organizing online conferences, we also do that. We have organized more than 50 national conferences and showed our business people, business community about practices and methods of doing business and normal and abnormal business cases. We have done both national and international conferences on various subjects, from private healthcare to smart cities. We are planning a session on Italy, and we plan that we will do this session where where companies from at least 20, where we have at least 20 or 25 attendees from different regions. We are open to that. As regards the process of and B2B, we think that B2B is not dead. We work on that, but we have set up a platform, virtual platform for exhibitions, and we do exhibitions in the virtual format and on the scale where it's possible, and we present them in various regions across Russia. Not everyone has this opportunity, but we do. As regards sessions, at all our sessions and at all our online conferences, I always thank the Ministry of Trade and Industry of Russia, and they have always been involved very actively, and plenipotentiary representatives of all other countries also participate very actively, and we continue our cooperation after that. And the B2B sessions in parallel that are done in parallel in several tracks, we attend them. As regards joint stands, the Moscow Center does that, and they organize stands made in Moscow, and they receive grants from the government of Moscow, and we are ready to consider participating in Italian exhibitions and that are happening online today in many countries. We are open for cooperation, and let's work together. And we continue, and I'd like to give the floor to Artyom Pololakh, the Vice President of Danelia Volga company, which is an example of a very active presence and localization of Italian companies here in Russia, in the segment which is very important for Russia, that's machine building. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. First of all, I'd like to know that Danieli, as one of the key companies in the Italian machine building, has cooperated with Russia for a long time. Danieli first came to Russia about 40 years ago when we concluded the first contracts that created the foundation for further cooperation. That was very successful. As regards localization, we decided to build a machine building plant in Russia about 5 years ago. We think that was the right decision because apart from other advantages of localization, which include local human resources and lower labor costs, the closure of borders during the pandemic, which became the so-called black swan of the global economy. Under these conditions, we were able to maintain the level of service that we provided before the pandemic, and our Russian team has also performed the communicative function. As regards Italian technologies and Russian companies, if we look forward on the short term, we have not seen any decrease as regards our company. As for the long-term projects, we have postponed them for the better future, for a better day. But still, we hope for the future, and we have signed the large contract with the UMC Group, UMK Group, for the treatment of iron of 1.25 million tons, where we will be able to use native raw materials in the process chain as compared to the traditional material that come from the furnaces. We are partnering with Severstal very successfully. We are close to completion of a project with on the steel mills, and we are restructuring. We are upgrading the steel smelting furnace, and Daniel works with all large-scale metallurgical producers. We work with on the furnaces. We work together with Uraz on the rolling mill. We are discussing the rolling production with Uraz. Overall, what's important today, where we see advantages of localization today, is that you have a national team of professionals that both provide efficient communication, because on the national Russians will understand Russians better. This team always is also a chain in the technology transfer between the companies, because Daniele places a priority on personnel development. Human resources are the key asset of the company. And just for the information, in order to develop a professional in a company, it takes about a year, including the first traineeship and practice and interaction with the clients, and then traineeships again, and participation in launching the Daniele facilities in different parts of the country, sharing experiences and so on. For us, our investments in human resources is a great plus and a great advantage that we are actively developing. Besides, Daniele Volga, we decided to strengthen cooperation with regional institutes, in particular for development of professionals, and delivering joint webinars and programs for the head office personnel. Our head office is just like all others, have developed quite a large number of personnel training programs which are delivered online. I also participate in e-trainings. We have around 3 trainings per month, starting in summer. And I think that on the future, online holds the future. The future belongs to virtual format, but we still look forward to life becoming normal again, and the skills and knowledge and experience that we have gained during the pandemic. We hope to be able to use them under the new reality and to enhance our interaction and engagement with clients. If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer. Thank you very much, Mr. Populach. Indeed, online and the digital world has been winning us over very aggressively. We all realized that digitalization was here, but we never expected this strong leap and this breakthrough in this direction. Those who were ready to that are now at the top, and they have not lost a lot under the present conditions. And on the other hand, just like all of the presenters have mentioned today, investing in human resources is very important today. This is one of the key matters today in all companies and in all states. It's investing in the human capital that makes us able to hope for intensive development and going forward. As for two-way technology transfer, I'd like to dwell upon that. It's important because companies localizing here and using the Russian engineering potential and human potential become able to both introduce technologies, implement technologies that come from Italy and other European countries, and at the same time promote their own technologies across Europe. And this synergy is very advantageous to both sides. What I'd like to ask is that she is a company that has been present in the Russian market for a long time. Do you see any risks inherent in localization that maybe prevent Italian companies from making more decisive steps? And what do you think about these risks? Do you think they exist objectively, or maybe they are a bit more about stereotypes, the lack of awareness, maybe the obsolete practices that just exist and prevent us from really judging from judging the reality as it is.
В целом, я считаю, что эти риски,
I
они достаточно
think that these risks are quite over-exaggerated, but everything depends on the type of business. If we look at our company, the key problem for us is to develop the modern supply chains, because Danieli is placed in the machine building cluster in Italy, and the transactions there are divided between many participants, and it's very easy to find sub-suppliers. As for Russia, we have seen that the market is quite young here in terms of machine building. But things go forward, and maybe we didn't know everything. We engaged with the Ministry of Industry and Trade. We were able to find reliable partners, and we develop in that direction. I cannot say that we really face big issues. We really see more opportunities and more advantages as regards localization, and this reflects in investment opportunities and in the governmental support. There's quite a high potential of engineering resources in the Russian Federation, which is still vacant. It's easy to find skilled professionals, and the environment is very competitive. I think this is one of the key advantages that we can rely on. I would like to add, maybe just for your information, that the government of Moscow subsidizes professional development of company staff. If a company refers their professionals to special educational institutions for professional development, the government of Moscow covers the expenses of for training professionals. This is what the government decided based on the consultations with the business community on the need to develop and support the companies, especially those that engage in cross-border economic relations, and we can use that together. Dear colleagues, we have heard all of the speakers. I'd like to ask all of you to maybe share your last message for today, for today's conference, just for maybe less than a minute. Mr. Karavayev, can you say?
Localization, localization, and localization. Very clear message. Thank you very much. Alexey Orlov is not with us, but I believe that he would repeat this thesis, can take into account the presentation. Ernesto, are you here? Ernesto is not here. Marisa, please take the floor. Marisa, your mic is muted.
Ну, конечно, освоить
Of course,
новые средства коммуникации.
new means of communication. This is something we have to master. I believe that after pandemic ends, we will use these means of communication. It's very important. I would like to quote some statistics. We didn't talk about e-commerce. For e-commerce, the data are amazing this year. 22 billion is the revenue of the e-commerce this year. Only the first 6 months amounted to 18 billion. And statistically, I believe that there will be about 32 billion up to the end of the year. That is why this is the sector which will continue growing. The new marketplace will be opened. That is why this sector, of course, is of high interest for us. What else I could say? We are really hope that the ruble will be stabilized to have return the exchange rate of 70 to 75 rubles. Of course, this would be extremely helpful, and everything you mentioned previously about the experts is obligatory. You have very good engineers, very good experts, but we need to combine them with the technologies which you purchase in Italy. That is why the only thing I would tell, invite our specialists here to install equipment from Italy. Unfortunately, now the experts cannot come. There are complications. It costs 500 euro a day. It's a nonsense. Of course, the localization is number one. Unfortunately, we ranked 16th, and we cannot do same thing that the Germans do. But to train your specialists to manufacture in Russia, very briefly. And Ernesto is here, he will continue. Ernesto, please take the floor. Could you please remind me the question? The question is very simple. I asked everyone to briefly, in a couple of words, to summarize just the last message of this meeting to our online audience. What shall we focus on? Igor was very brief. Localization, localization, and localization. Marisa noticed a wider aspects, including the e-commerce development, e-trade turnover, electronic technologies of cooperation. Your opinion? I think it's very simple. I understand that I'm trying to look forward and to see the new generation which are growing and developing. I believe that the human capital is something that we have to focus on always. Talent is something special. We learned to do many things. In Italy, there are many family companies. There were some intuitive approaches when after the war they realized there was a demand in the country. We have to move forward. I believe that the key element here is a human factor. It covers all the industries. It covers the future. And we understand that in Italy today, Europe has 40 million of migrants. It's a huge potential. We don't know when in Italy, you know how one student costs about 50,000 euro. When this student works in the third country, it's a huge loss. Brain, intellectual level, knowledge. It's a huge opportunity. That is why Russia has everything. There is no country richer than Russia. Aluminium, petroleum, gas, human capital, markets, desire to grow. But why, when we talk about the cooperation, we have to focus on the additional step forward? It often happens. There are some limitations, some barriers, some impediments, and business requires not only cheap loan money, but to minimize the monopoly level and establishment of these small and medium-sized businesses. Private capital presence is very important here. Unfortunately, today we have the capital which is imported from Russia. We have to do it otherwise. The capital outflow is something that we need to overcome. It's not only about, it's not just to Italy, but other foreign countries. We discussed it today with our partners from other associations. There are joint approach, joint opinion. Nobody says that Russia doesn't have an opportunity to grow. There is a huge initiative. We need to communicate more, we need to provide transparency, and to a certain extent, Europe, of course, is the one to blame because there are limitations imposed. 1.5 years ago, we tried to deliver our vision to the foreign investors, which they say Eurasian Union is a unique opportunity. We need to remove all the barriers. We have to work together, focused on what we have. The pharmaceutical industry is growing, but I tell our partners 22% growth of exports from Europe into Russia. It will not last forever. Of course, there is a oil and gas school in Russia. It's traditionally a strong industry. And when resources, from the economical point of view, not the political, from the economical point of view, when we see only raw materials and it's not competitiveness, we need to consider that there is a large supplier of energy resources which is reliable, which is competitive. Yes, it's competitive, and we need to be friends with Russia because it's not a stranger country. It's a country which has always been part of integration with Europe, not only from the point of view of culture. Italian architects were in Russia in the 13th century. Imagine that. Our historical relations have to change. Those who say that are wrong. Business has to prove that it's independent, to be politicized, and to have political based relations is wrong. That is why we need to continue this course and we have to work together. Unfortunately, we don't have an opportunity to be, to have our joint events because of COVID, because of other reasons, and we need to tell the stories of our success of our business. Unfortunately, Western countries like stories which are about spionage, some shadowy, nebulous stories. We need to tell how we work in Russia because this story of success, if it's transparent, it can be multiplied.
Indeed, I fully agree with what you say. Thank you very much, Ernesto. But mainly that's a message to our Italian colleagues, because we are open and we are ready to cooperate with Italy and other European countries. It's not us who introduced regimes against Europe before we received such unexpected information. Indeed, it was quite a surprise to us because the economic integration with Italy is huge and it's unique. We do have many multiple shared values, be it cultural or human, and we are on the same continent, and that's important as well. Leaving alone the fact that you have mentioned that we are complementary and we can both help each other develop and we can help make our shared space a place of huge unprecedented economic growth. Russia is rich in various kinds of resources, both natural and human and technological, that are recognized all over the world. Europe is rich in its own resources of new technologies and solutions. And this combination must and has to be the point for our mutual growth. But unfortunately, business is being politicized and the politics affect businesses strongly. we have heard that before that businesses are independent from politics in Europe, but it turned out that this is not the fact. This is not the fact at all. Businesses depend on politics strongly. They depend on political decisions that have no economic value for both Russia and Europe. This is the message that we need to repeat, to say over and over again. And when we were doing the days of Moscow and Milan and in Turin, what I said is that it was not us who were the most persuasive in terms of communicating with Italian colleagues, but rather it was the message that came from Italian colleagues that who set up businesses in Russia and who came back and spoke about that. That was even more. That was even a clearer message. We are ready to help, but please inform your friends that we are not dangerous. We're not bears who walk around through the streets. We have strong education and we have strong skills, maybe even stronger sometimes than those in Europe. We are fully open. Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm ready to commit. I'm ready to cooperate on any subjects that will be of interest both to Russian and Italian companies. Mr. Pololak, do you have anything to add? Actually, everything has been said before. We have the global focus on efficient innovations, first of all, and on developing human capital, which produces, so to say, these innovations. And locally, the target is to develop further localization and supply chains in Russia. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. The matter of supply chains and innovations is key today. The supply chains for those companies that localize in Russia, they want to have quality partners. And what's important for us is, among other things, for as companies, especially those of small and medium businesses, is to encourage the introduction of innovations, the adoption of innovations in general. Moscow is taking huge steps. I could, in the past, I could only dream of that as regards support to innovative processes in the city. And at this point, I'd like to say thank you once again to all presenters on behalf of the Moscow Trade and Commerce Chamber. Commerce and Industry Chamber and the Russian Chamber. We're open to cooperation with Italian partners. We think of Italy as one of our essential partners and the most friendly partners on the continent. We are very similar in terms of mentality. We kind of light up, we activate very fast, and our children may look at us and they will say, what's happening here? Why are you shouting? It's just us speaking. This is where we are very similar. And thank you very much once again for these very sincere and very targeted presentations. And many thanks to the organizers. We very much hope that INNOPROM will happen in Ekaterinburg next year. And that next summer, Ekaterinburg will host it again. And Italy, as the key partner of the forum, will both find it emotionally rewarding and will be able to find partners and ways to cooperate here in this country. We are always open to for cooperation. Marisa and Ernesto, we are always happy to see you. Thank you very much for Mr. Karavayev. The Moscow Chamber is always open to cooperation with the Russian Federation. We always do that and will do that on all levels. I wish you, Mr. Pololak, great success to make sure that your investments are returned. Thank you very much to everyone, including the interpreters.